Hey, boo, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I haven't seen you in so long.
I know, I've been hiding a little bit, huh?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not hiding, you're all around the world touring.
Yeah. That's kind of come to a halt for everybody these days, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? I still can't really realize the world that we're living in at the moment.
Yeah, it's crazy for sure.
Yeah. So welcome to the Anderson Street chat.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And so, this is just something that we do to check in with all of our favorite Philly creatives, just to, check in, see what they're doing, see how they're doing, see what they're working on. Because I know y'all are always up to something, and we want to just help let the folks know what you're doing. So,
That's awesome. Thanks so much.
yeah, of course. So, the first question we always ask is, how are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm grateful and I'm thankful that everything is okay. Um, I am a bit of an empath. I'm very empathetic to people. So I've been spending a lot of time, like, just trying to help other people, listening to them and praying for them and their family and those who are sick and, just trying to help people get through a lot of this. But me personally, I'm doing okay, thankfully.
Good, 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 good. So, for those who may not know Natalie, how would you? So, you do a lot. So, not only are you a recording artist in your own right, you are a background singer for anybody and everybody, including the one and only John Legend. So, if you don't mind just sharing with the folks like your story, how you got to Philly, how you became a background singer. We want to know.
Okay. So I went to high school in New York and studied music. I went to college for music. And when I left college, I wasn't really doing much music. I kind of got into like a regular, like 9 to 5 job. But my friends, they were all like still traveling and singing and touring. And I would just be at my desk, like, wishing that I could do that.
Mm.
So I was at Bear Stearns. It was what, 2008, when the big market crash happened, and my company, which was in business for like 85 years, it basically like dissolved. So during that time, I got a severance package and I auditioned for Jazmine Sullivan, and I started singing background full time. So that's how I started out. In between that, before that, I was like singing for Jennifer Hudson, as a teenager, and in my late teens, I had, record deals. I've always pretty much been singing and doing music and have been in the music industry. But when I left college, my focus was like, I need to get money and make money now so I could pay off these student loans. So
Yeah.
seeing my friends like traveling and singing and making a living off of doing what they love, performing and singing, that really inspired me. So ever since then, I started with Jazmine Sullivan, and ever since then, I just went on to just sing with tons of people: Shaggy, Lauryn Hill, Nicki Minaj, a lot of different artists. One thing just kind of led to the other, and I never went back. And I'm really glad that that company, went out of business, because I don't know if I would
Who
have
was
ever
that?
really had the courage to just jump, into this world. And thankfully, I'm here now, and I know that it's very possible to make a living and really travel the world and sing and do what you love. So I encourage other people to do that now.
I mean, listen, I am a child. I call myself a child of a recession. Also, because I was in college in 2008 and 2009, and I remember how very real it was for a lot of folks. But for me, and obviously for you too, it ended up being one of the best times of my life because it led me to my passion. So,
Mm-hmm.
are you approaching this kind of down period with the same amount of resetting as you've done before, as with the 2008 recession?
Yeah, it's great that you said that because I was thinking along the same lines too. This is like a great time for people to really find other passions or like really, that thing that you always like wondered if you had more time, like what could you do, you know? And last year, outside of like me singing and performing and touring, I realized that I really have a big passion for people and helping other people. So that's why I came up with my other business that I started called the Life and Music Coach, where I give vocal lessons and I help people, coach them and let them know that, you can do it too, whatever that dream is, like you can try and you can go for it, So that's one thing that I've been really like diving into more during this period of time, just thinking of ways that I can help other people, as well as, working on my plan for my music as well.
Good. Well, we know we want, we want the music.
Yes, I know. You're always on my back like, Nat, come on, put that music out.
Guys, I mean,
great.
listen.
I always need that push.
Listen, I feel like we all are called to do something, and if we're not serving the world with our gifts, what the hell are we doing with it,
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So with that said, I have a couple of new songs that I plan to put out.
Yes.
I saw today that Facebook is allowing you to do like live streaming performances and like charge people to come to your show practically. So I think I'm gonna dive into that a little bit and start doing performances from home.
We're ready. Let us know when those are, and we will totally put them on our Anderson Street page because we're big supporters. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
So what have you learned? Because I think over the last 5-10 years or so, there have been a lot of great publicity around the art of being a background singer. What have you learned over these last 10 years about being a singer, a background singer? What you love about it, and even how that role impacts your own performance as your own career as a soloist?
That's a great question. It's been great. I really enjoy it. I love it. Luckily, I get to perform for an amazing artist. I've been with John Legend for like 10 years now, almost 10 years. And nice. It's really been amazing. Not only have I done background for him, but he also has allowed me to come forward to the front and perform with him as well in front of thousands and thousands of people. So that experience right there alone is great exposure and great, experience for you to apply to being like a solo artist. It kind of takes away like your jitters or whatever little like fears that you may have about performing in front of thousands of people. I know I've done it. Not only have I done it, but I've done it with John Legend. So there's no reason why, I can't do it as a solo artist. And what I really appreciate about the internet and the direction that the music industry has gone these days is that you really can be a background artist and be an artist as well. In the past, it's kind of just been looked at as a background singer and that's it. And it's kind of just like, oh, she's just a background singer. And you get really, compartmentalized. But these days, I feel like fans look at you, like support you as a solo artist as well. Like they really, even like from performing and John, a lot of his fans come to my page and they support my music and they support me as an artist. So it's been really great, watching the way the business is done, see it not only performing, but really seeing behind the scenes how different artists handle their business and things like that. So you want to say hi? Man? Yeah, that's Man.
The legendary Man. Hey, Man.
What's up with
it? How's it going?
You good? I'm good. I was like, hold on, that ain't right.
Well, we started dating from touring and traveling the world too, so this is another great thing.
Wait, so tell us more. How did y'all meet?
We met on the road. We met on tour with John.
Interesting.
Yeah, we were on tour for years and never paid each other any mind. And then we started dating, and we've been together now for like 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been together a long time.
so is the man what brought you to Philly?
He is what brought me to Philly. I was living in New Jersey. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I was born in North Carolina, and then as a child, I moved to the Bronx, and I lived in the Bronx for a while, and then I moved to Teaneck and Inglewood, New Jersey. Lived in Inglewood for a while. Thank you. Thank you. See, it just makes my life. Thank you. And then
a producer on the road and in the house. I love it.
Just helping me get my life together, you know? Yeah. So yeah, I went to school in Inglewood, New Jersey, and then I went to high school in New York for performing arts. So I've done like a lot of, you know, traveling, living in different places. A lot of people don't know that I lived in the Bronx before, you know? So that's part of my background. And most of my life I lived in New Jersey. So once he and I started dating, I moved out to Philadelphia, and I've been out here ever since. So it's been a while.
Now, how is Philly treating you? Because, you know, we sometimes we're not cool, that we're not nice to the transplants.
You're from Philly?
I'm born and raised, honey. I've been here 33 years except for college.
That is so funny. So I'll let you know honestly what my experience is when it comes to Philadelphia. So before I actually moved here, I would just, you know, come out here and there, and I always felt like, oh my gosh, like it's so warm there. Like everybody's like your auntie. Like everybody's so, you know, it's so like down to earth. But then when I started living here, I was just kind of like, oh, people are a little rude.
Yeah.
But I got used to it, you know, because good thing I lived in the Bronx before, because, you know, they had little rude too, you know, so.
Yeah.
So I got tough skin, but it's been really good. Everybody's like, you know, luckily, you know, I toured with Jazmine Sullivan, so she's Philly. So between her and Elisa Joe, like, you know, I kind of got that Philly vibe already, just kind of knowing what the people are like. And so just living here, my experience has been pretty good. Like, you know, everybody's, you know, really really into, you know, the music and the arts, and like really bringing you in, and just open to create. You know, they're always like, a band is always ready to perform, and that's not always defined in other places, like, you know. So I really appreciate that. Like everybody's like, Nat, like what you got going on when we performing, you know. So that's one thing that I really appreciate about Philly.
So how was it folding into the music scene? Like how was that process? Because I mean, you know, the music scene, I mean, you got, you know, the music director of all music directors by your side, but I mean, I would say that the music, and you know, the music community here is almost like a clique into itself. So how was it folding in here?
Yeah, I think it really helped that, you know, I had that background. Like, you know, I have, you know, Jazmine, and I have Man, you know, people who like are born and bred here, like they're already, you know, here. So bringing me in, it wasn't difficult. You know, the thing that I know about, or that I really appreciated about Philly, is how concentrated it is. Like everyone you need to find, whether it's songwriters, producers, a band, everybody you want to get next to is right here. You know, like everybody's all in place. So it wasn't really one of those things where I had to like really search too hard to find where everyone is. You know, and for the most part, you know, everybody shares everything on the internet, lets you know about their performances and stuff like that, or whatever jams are going on. So you could always go and perform and be a part of different things. When it comes to like songwriting and some sessions, that wasn't as easy, because, you know, I think people are a little more protective when it comes to that, because I think songwriters and performers like to kind of have their own space, and they're very that's sacred for them, you know, so they're not as open to just letting people into their sessions as easily. So I think, you know, that's where you kind of learn to like really build your relationship first.
What would you say to a budding singer? So if there's like a 16, 17, 18-year-old or a college student who wants to be a professional singer full time, what advice would you give them?
I would just tell them to just really hone in on your craft, like be as good as you can be, and utilize the internet, like sing online. There's a lot of artists that I see who say that they sing, but there's like no singing videos on their page, or you go to their YouTube and there are like very few videos of them singing. It really helps because there are a lot of times where you get jobs literally from the internet. It's not the way it used to be where it's like you had to hear about this audition and go to it. Like now you can literally see a post, video your performance, audition, you know what I mean? So I think it's really important to perform online, and all of the artists and singers or background singers that you see doing what you have a passion to do, reach out to them, like go in their DMs, like talk to them. You'll be surprised how receptive they are and how willing they are to help you out, you know, with getting to where you want to go. There's times where, you know, people reach out and they let me know, you know, hey, I really want to do background, or I'm available. I want to let you know that, you know, I'm free, I'm here. I just want to, you know, because I think sometimes when you're on the outside, it's hard to get in, you know. So I think sometimes it's just important to just let everybody you know that you can sing, you know. Reach out to them and let them. I remember the Amours, like before they were who they are now. Like I remember they were just in the dressing room with us, you know, when we were on tour and we were performing and stuff like that. Just, you know, having a desire to be out and about performing, and look where they are now. You know what I mean? So I think they've done a great job of like networking and getting to know people that are in it, and just making it known that this is something that they want to do. So that's definitely one thing that I would say. Like, don't be afraid to reach out. Even if you're an artist and you are trying to reach that record executive, like, don't be afraid to reach out. Even if you get ignored a few times, like, keep trying, you know, because I think that the internet is really, really powerful these days. And you can really get to where you want to be and where you want to go a lot easier than the way it used to be, because you can like go directly to them, you know. There are some instances where I see people say, oh, you know, I heard you on this song and I wondered who you were, so I looked you up and I, you know, went into your DMs and now I want you on my album, like, you know what I mean? So you really have to like utilize this, you know.
What has been a favorite gig of yours? Like, if you looking back at your career, like what would you say was one of the highlights?
Well, one of the major highlights for me was when I sang on Saturday Night Live with Cardi B. Like, that was awesome. I was so nervous. Like, oh my goodness. I don't know. Like, you know, I've been doing this for years, but when it came to that, like, my heart was pounding because I just didn't know, like, what to expect. And, you know, sometimes you go into these rooms and you don't know the artist. You know, sometimes you take a little time to, like, feel people out first before you can, like, let your hair down and, like, really be yourself. So on that gig, when I showed up, I was just so nervous, you know. But she was really nice, and it was just great to see her work ethic, like how hard she practiced, how hard she worked. Like, it really gave me a lot more respect for where she is and what she does, and it really shows that, you know, you get to that level because of the work that you really put in, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, my favorite performer of yours. Listen, you, Jazmine, and Elisa doing Mascara for Vibe. That was everything. Listen, that acoustic version is
like
so good.
years after that, people still like tweet about it, and people still like are discovering like who we were singing background on that video. It was really dope.
Listen, y'all was singing like the Rent was do. All three of y'all was just singing. Oh God, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Oh goodness.
Thank you.
So I just want to take a quick break, just to say for the folks in the audience, if you guys have any questions for Natalie, feel free to drop them in the comments or send them to me privately, and I will share them if it's a good question. So we want the good ones. So. So one of the things that how has so I take it you're a songwriter as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you sing like all of these great songs, from John Legend and Jazmine, who are both some of the noted within Black music, some of the most renowned songwriters that we have at the moment. Their pens are sick. So have you learned anything from them in terms of songwriting and that you've applied to your own style?
Absolutely. Those two artists are like amazing to me. Like I really admire John because I know I'm a woman, but I do see a lot of myself in his style. Like,
Yeah.
He has like this crooner thing to him. And I've always, I listen to a lot of Nancy Wilson, the jazz singer.
Mm-hmm.
And she called herself like a vocal stylist and like a female crooner. So in terms of like the performance aspect and like how classy he is, how his message is always about love, and fearlessly being about love, because I think a lot of times people think, oh, nobody wants to hear about love all the time. Like they want to hear like, some heartbreak, people can relate to the heartbreak more. Like, make sure you write about that. But for me, when I write songs, I'm always inspired by the ideal, and I struggled with that for a while because I had to find a place in myself to know that was okay. Like it's okay to not like, be angry when it comes to like writing songs and like and singing about what I've been through. Of course, like I've had heartbreak and I've had tons of bad love situations, and I'm sure there will be songs where I touch on that more. But I just always, when it comes to what I share with the world, I just always want to focus on positivity and being uplifting and the loving side of everything, because I mean, that's what I've always longed for and what I've been happy with. So I kind of just want to share that more and let people know that that's okay. So that's something that I really appreciate about John, because regardless of whether people feel like, oh, that's just not realistic, his message is always love, and he finds a way to make that really cool and make that okay, which I really, it resonates with me, Jazmine on the other side, on the other hand,
Yes.
she don't mind being a little angry, which I love. But
Yes.
One of my favorite songs is Masterpiece.
Yes.
On her album, that's like, those are the fact that in that song she's saying like, you're a masterpiece, like you're a Mona Lisa, like, just looking in the mirror and knowing like you're beautiful, like those are the songs that really resonate with me, and I really like, I feel like music is about for me,
So and before we get into some of the questions in the chat, I mean, you and I, we've talked privately about your style, and we talked about your love for Nancy Wilson. Would you ever consider putting out a jazz album and I don't want to say shocking your fans, but really embracing the artistry that you love, even more so than you do now?
Absolutely. I love a lot of different styles of music. Like I love pop, I love R&B, I love jazz, I love, dance music, and these days I don't think that you have to like bother yourself up into this one thing and that.
Yes.
Like our fans these days are like so like you know, alternative and open-minded, and like, so I think that they're really receptive to whatever their artists. I say they're artists because I feel like when you're artists these days, like people, you kind of find a place in people's hearts. Like there are people that, you know, I went live a couple of weeks ago and I had followers who mentioned a project that I did back in 2012. Like
wow.
personally, I didn't even remember some of the lyrics to those songs, but that kind of showed me that somehow as an artist and a performer and as a singer, you find a place in people's hearts and they find a way to like support you in whatever you decide to do. So I don't want to put like this box on myself where I'm just like, I do R&B and that's it. Like I want to do R&B, I want to do jazz, I want to do a little bit of Afrobeat. Like I've traveled around the world, you know what I mean? So I know that there's so much more than just this one sound or just this one style. You know, I'm really inspired and influenced by the things that I see in the places that I go. You know, so there's really that's one thing that I really love about Janet Jackson. Like she's another artist that I really love. Like her message is always love, but it's always, you know, in a sexy way. And I have my sexy side too, so there probably will be a little project where I'm a little sexy too. You know, like,
ready?
I think as an artist, for me, it was really difficult being okay with all the different sides of myself because I'm a spiritual person. You know, I love God. I'm a sexual person. I love to talk about sex with my friends when I get together with my friends. You know, I'm an uplifting person. I love to inspire people and let them know that they could go on. I love to dance and party. So I don't want to feel like I have to just be, you know, all about God and just be sexy. Like I want to be all that I am and present that to people. And I know that, you know, followers and people these days, because I'm in their heart, they're willing to just accept all of it. You know what I mean? And it's freeing to feel that way. You know, to know that I don't have to just stick to one thing. But at the core of me is always R&B. Like I'm always gonna find a way to like get some soul in there, you know.
Yeah.
Because that's who I am. That's my roots. You know, I'm a Mary J. Blige, Faith Evans, you know, early '90s type of, you know, that's my heart, like, you know. So I'm never gonna deny that, regardless. So.
Love it. And you know, we would love and will support anything that you put out because you have the voice. You, unlike a lot of people, have a voice that can go cross genres. So we love to see it.
I appreciate that.
So let's go into some of these questions. I think Pink asked, what is your dream gig? And then also, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
My dream gig, like performance-wise, like as a background singer, I would love to sing and perform with Pink. Like, yeah, like Pink is so dope. Like,
yes.
And she, you know, she kind of has that like that edgy pop thing, but she got that big voice in R&B. Like she's from Philly, like, you know what I mean. So she's well-rounded. So that's an artist that I would like super be interested in.
Listen, that first R&B album she put out is still a classic.
Yeah, so I think she's one of the artists that I'd like to perform background with. As a solo artist, I have a bucket list of performances that I would like to do. One of the performances on my list was South by Southwest, and that was the next performance that I was about to do.
No.
Yeah, it was gonna be like my first solo performance of the year in a long time. Aww. And you know, everything got shut down, and I wasn't able to do that. So that's still on my list. You know, I would love to perform for Essence someday. Mm-hmm. Black Girls Rock. Yeah, I have a list of performances and places that I would love to perform.
Well, listen, we would love to see you in those places as well. Absolutely. This is a really interesting question. Is it ever too late to live your dream?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I do see a lot of times that people say, "Oh, you know, I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm 60. I can't do that. I can't go to college. I can't go to school. I can't sing. I can't like." go for it. You'll be surprised. Like, you know, somebody that was on tour with us was, you know, like almost 50 years old. And that it was just like, wow, like you are out here living your dream and showing people that it can still be done. You just don't, you got to be open. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, if you say, oh, this is what I want, if that doesn't work out, you're like, oh, well, it's over for me. Like, no, there are tons of movies, plays. There's so many other different, you know, things that you can do at any age and be successful. You know what I mean? So I definitely don't think that, that there's a limit. I think the limitations that we put on ourselves are only generated by ourselves. You know what I mean? I definitely know that there are a lot of times where you go for things and you don't get chosen, or it just wasn't the right time, or you didn't have the right look or the right style, or you weren't the right age for that opportunity. That doesn't mean that it's over for you. Because you have that burning desire on the inside, there's something to that. You have that feeling for a reason. So I believe that you just have to keep trying and keep figuring out what that feeling is for. And, you know, keep, you know, maybe invest in yourself to make you better at, you know, so that next time you go and perform, you're, you know, a few steps ahead than you were last time, you know?
Yeah.
So, but especially with the internet, like you can generate your own fan base.
Yeah.
You know, in your 70s as a singer, if you want to, you know, and go out and perform and make a living, you know, that's just music. I mean, in anything, I don't think that you should put limitations on yourself. As long as you're here on this earth and you have a dream and you have a burning desire on the inside to go after something that you really want to fulfill, I say go for it. What you got to lose?
So what if you were to just looking back at the past 10 years and even you know, your stint in finance and, you know, how you grew up and all that stuff, like what would you say has been the biggest lesson you've learned?
The biggest lesson that I've learned and that I'm still learning and working through in my own life is to never be afraid to take risks. If that company didn't go out of business, I wouldn't even be here right now. Possibly. Because I might have been afraid to take a risk.
Yeah.
You know, I might have been afraid to jump out of that secure, you know, check that I was getting every week. You know what I mean? And even now, like you gotta be willing to take a risk. You know what I mean? Like go out on that limb and really go after what you want. You know, I'm a big advocate of, you know, therapy and talking and working through a lot of your issues. And for me, one of the things that I came to realize about myself is that I need to take more risks. I need to be willing to fall. You know what I mean? So that's something that I'm not afraid to say and share. And it's something that I definitely feel that we can all overcome, because on the other side of that risk and on the other side of that fear is what you really, really want and desire. You know, you can't stay in a comfortable place for too long.
Yeah. What has, this is a really good question. Hey, Marla, my friend Marla, she asked, how do you keep yourself whole and grounded in this crazy ass world we call entertainment?
That is a very good question, because I am all about that. If you follow me, you'll know that, I mean, right now, I think that there's a big readjustment that's happening for me. Because before this, you know, I had those go-to things that I know can keep me grounded. I will work out, you know, 2-3 times with my trainer. Journaling helps you get a lot of things off your chest. You know, eating right, staying healthy, exercise, you know, all those things that, you know, it sounds cliche to say, they actually make you feel better. You know, they keep you in a good mental space. So now that we're, you know, stuck home, I've had to one thing that I think really helps is to create a daily schedule.
Mm-hmm.
There were times where I would be out on the road and touring. You know, we're different places every day, and we're traveling, and we're singing, and we're performing. And then I get home, and a lot of that is just quiet, and I'm just home, kind of like the way we are now. And I would like be like, oh, like what do I do? Like, you know, like you can really like having all this time and not knowing what to do with it. You can really get stressed out. That's why I think it's important to create a schedule for yourself. Like, know that this time I'm going to wake up, I'm going to eat, I'm going to make sure I have a healthy breakfast, I'm going to exercise at this time, I'm going to make sure I meditate, that I pray, that I do all the nurturing things that I feel I need to do to make myself feel better. One thing that I think a lot of people who are in this time, I just think that having a daily schedule for yourself can really, really help. And make sure you do things like that you like, and be okay with saying no to things that you don't want to do, you know?
Yeah.
There might be days where you don't want to be productive. You don't want to do anything, and that's okay. You know, just knowing that you don't have to put all this pressure on yourself. You know, take it day by day and give yourself what you need, because I think at the core, we all know what that is. And a lot of times that's just a little bit of silence, giving ourselves some rest.
That, yes.
You know, not giving in to so much of the pressure that we get from others and the pressure that we put on ourselves. Just kind of take a moment to just be still and do the self-work, you know.
How do you remain grounded on tour?
On tour, I'm usually okay. Like, I don't really do anything special. I make sure that I exercise. That's one thing that's really important and helpful for me when I'm on the road. But on the days off, when we're not touring and we're not performing, I make sure that I rest. Because I'm exerting so much energy when I'm performing, because I'm singing and I'm dancing and I'm trying to, you know, memorize so many different things. When I have days off, rather than like running out and about to everything, I just rest. I'm always okay with resting, and I definitely always try to exercise to keep my lungs healthy, and, you know, make sure I'm always prepared and in good shape to perform.
What goes into being a background singer? Like, what are some, you know, what the health tips, the vocal training tips? Like, what, you know, I'm a fan, so and don't even think of giving me a mic. So, like, what are some of the things that you do to protect your voice?
For one, I rest. You know, that's another thing. I make sure that I rest. I make sure that I eat healthy. Green juice is your friend. Ginger is your best friend. You want to boil ginger. You want to chew a couple of pieces before you perform. That opens up your lungs and kind of gets the phlegm and the mucus and inflammation out of your throat and out of your voice. So you definitely want to make sure that you're having a little bit of ginger. And I think everybody's instrument is different, so everyone may not have to do the same things that I do. But so I think one of the main things for you to do is to pay attention to your body. Like, know that, you know what, when I eat this, I feel like this. Like, when I, you know, if I eat a burger, I'm super tired. Or so maybe you want to stay away from a burger on a show day, you know. So eating clean, exercising, don't drink too much liquor. Make sure you're drinking a lot of water. If you are drinking, making sure that you're also balancing it out by having a lot of water. Just kind of taking care of yourself as much as possible. Luckily for me, I've never had any vocal issues while performing and singing.
That's good.
I will say that there probably were 2 times in my life where I had a little bit of an issue. I had a problem. And some of the things that I did were, I like to go the natural route. So, you know, so I have a natural, holistic person that I go to who puts together herbs and stuff for me to help me with my voice. So nice. I feel like that was a great, you know, investment for me. Just knowing what my body needs in terms of like naturally, like how I can help my body, you know, by eating healthy, eating more often throughout the day, just kind of taking care of yourself. All of that, because I always say, you know, at the Life and Music Coach, I always basically say that our voices are not independent of our bodies. Like it's all one. Like, you know, our health, our mental, our voice, like it's all connected. So it's important that we're taking care of every part of ourselves, taking care of our health, what we're eating, taking care of our mental, like making sure that we're doing what we need to do in terms of, you know, if you need to just rest and meditate, just to kind of like ease some of your anxiety or your stress, whatever may be happening back home, just kind of like letting it all go and like taking care of every part of yourself, because you are your business practically, you know?
Yeah. We do have a couple
if I'm not healthy, I can't work, you know? So,
yes.
you know, so I really try to pay attention to how I feel and figure out ways to combat that or whatever, you know, whatever issues I'm having.
Isn't it crazy how we put our work before ourselves? Isn't that just so wild?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you really have to, you know, you have to put yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you are the vessel. If you're not pouring into yourself and you're not taking care of yourself and you're not doing the self-work that's necessary to be healthy within yourself, you're not good in any job, any area, like not just music and singing, like at any job, you know. Mm-hmm. You really have to take care of yourself and learn, like be open to like learning the different ways that you can take care of and heal yourself naturally.
That's really, really, really good. We do have a couple more questions. Have you had moments where using your gift has transcended you into the spiritual realm? That's a deep question.
Yeah, that is a deep question. Well, I grew up in church. I grew up in a Pentecostal church.
Yes, Pentecostal, yes.
Yes. So I had doilies and dresses down to the ankles and everybody at the altar till 3 a.m., you know, just like carrying and speaking in tongues and all, you know, all that stuff, you know. That's where I can attribute a lot of my soul.
Yes.
But yeah, I've definitely had spiritual experiences when it comes to singing and performing. And
what was the most recent one?
The most recent one? I don't think that I've had one in a long time.
Oh, okay.
I do go to church on Sundays. You know, I used to go to church when the church was
right. We got you. Yes.
I sang praise and worship and stuff like that. But I definitely know that music and singing has the power to touch people and make them have a spiritual experience. There's a lot of times, you know, last year I sang at a friend's memorial for her mom, and a lot of people were impacted by it. You know, a lot of people you either feel better or you feel it causes you to, you know, express yourself, to let out some tears that you've been holding on to for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, so I definitely think that singing and performing it and like for me, a lot of times I do it so that people can feel what I'm trying to express, and can feel a lot better than whatever they're feeling, or to know that there's hope for whatever they're experiencing. So I definitely feel like, you know, music and singing does have that spiritual aspect, and has the ability to make people feel better, and make them express whatever they've been holding on to on the inside for too long.
What artist and what style of music fills you up spiritually?
Fills me up spiritually.
or like recent, like what's name a song that has just like truly resonated with you. I mean, of course, it could be your own music too, but I mean, you know, like especially now that where a lot of us are looking for hope and seeking hope and you know, like what are some of those songs that you've been leaning on?
Well, I definitely think that, you know, gospel songs have that
Mm-hmm.
that aspect to it. A couple of days ago I was on my Insta story singing Heal the World.
Yes.
You know, we're just in a place right now where that's what we really need. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we need healing. You know, this world is like going through a lot right now. You know what I mean? So um I personally like really laid back, chill R&B music.
Oh.
That's like what I listen to like most of the time. It makes me feel chill and relax and you know, like Alina Baraz,
Yes.
Snow Allegra,
Yes.
that chill, like laid back, Caliucci's. Like I just
Mm-hmm.
like to like just kind of listen to that chill kind of music, have that in the background while I'm doing whatever I'm doing around the house. So
Mm-hmm.
that kind of I wouldn't say that it's spiritual for me, but it does keep me chill. A lot like the other types of music that are a lot more like rowdy. Sometimes it can affect me and make me like, like
Yeah. Uh-huh.
unless it's trap, you know, you just have to pop, you know, a little bit. But but for the most part, I like really laid back R&B music.
Listen, ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. How another question came in. How do you navigate the expectations of notoriety? That's a really good question too.
How do I navigate the expectations of notoriety? I can't say that I've really like experienced too many expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, because I think these days you can pretty much just be yourself.
Yeah.
People really do expect you to work and do things on a high level. So that's one thing where I think it's kind of, I've gotten a little caught up because like, especially with the internet, like you want your quality to be like so great,
Mm-hmm.
like you want your visuals to be perfect, like you want,
Yeah.
you know, and a lot of times like you can't afford it. You can't always afford the best camera and the best lighting and the best
Mm-hmm.
team to make all your stuff perfect. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things that I could say in terms of like the expectations of notoriety. I definitely feel like when you have a little more notoriety, people expect better quality of you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I think you kind of have to start to be a little like a little more creative in terms of like working with what you have instead of like just feeling like you have to live up to you know, John Legend status for your
Mm-hmm.
quality to be accepted by your fans.
Yeah.
You know?
And the funny thing, it's interesting that we're talking about mental wellness in terms of the entertainment industry, because I don't know if a lot of people are following Ari Lennox, but it seems like she's been going through some stuff over the last. She posted something very transparent on her Instagram today about feeling like she invested way too much in her social media profile instead of just being the artist that she really, really, really wanted to be. And she feels like people know her now more for her outlandish Instagram lives as opposed to her music. So yeah, it's really
Yeah, I saw that post today. And my response to that was that the fans I don't feel like your true fans don't think about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I love going to her live and seeing her do her, you know, her little antics and I find it to be super creative and it lets me see like where a lot of her creativity comes, like in her mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I personally enjoy it. And I think that, like I said, when you're in the heart of your fans, they're gonna support your music and support everything that you are. I think a lot of times, you know, in terms of what that person just said about the expectations of notoriety, when you when you really just focus on that, like the expectations of notoriety and like what the media is going to say about you, that can really hinder you and your creativity and your connection with your fans. Because I feel like, you know, fans allow you to be who you are. You know what I mean? Regardless of what the media and everybody, you know, whatever they're, you know, misconstruing it to be. Like true fans, like when you're in their heart, like they're gonna go hard for you. And I think that's one of the, you know, a lot of people, you know, look at Beyonce, right? Everybody loves and appreciates Beyonce, but she doesn't share all of that. All you know is like that persona of perfection. And I think that the media thrives on that. They love that she's perfect all the time. You know what I mean? So, and I think that that's where, you know, she probably focuses more on the expectations of notoriety, right? Like she likes to make sure that she's viewed in a certain way by the media, right? And I think that I appreciate the fact that Ari Lennox doesn't give into that. Like she doesn't give into expectations of that. And I don't think that it has to take away from your music. Can you like do a little bit more? Like, okay, today I'm gonna go live and I'm gonna actually sing instead of just talking. You can mix it up a little more, but I don't think that you have to like completely like stop being yourself and stop doing the things that you've been doing, because that's raw and that's real, and that's what I think fans really appreciate.
Yeah, I totally echo that. I sometimes feel for the artists, because sometimes I think as fans we want our artists to be so transparent nowadays, and sometimes I feel that adds pressure, unneeded pressure, for them. Like, for example, I appreciate the fact that Beyonce has a very strict boundary. Like, you will not see her on Instagram Live. You may not see her on Instagram. You know? She's definitely not on Twitter. You know what I mean? And she has a life all to herself. And so when she's ready to come out, it's almost like a surprise, as opposed to, oh, girl, we just saw you yesterday.
Right. And on the other hand, you have an artist like Ari, who's on live all the time, talking and chatting and, you know, creating this experience for her followers. So I think that you can have success on both ends. Like, I don't think that you have to, I think that you can be transparent and have success. And I mean, it's all up to the artist, like what you want your, what you personally view as success. Like, is it more important for you to have a connection with your fans and people who care about you and your music? If that's the case, then keep doing what you're doing. If you care more about the expectations and the media and what the headlines are saying about you, then get off the internet and just focus on the singing, and that's it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I personally do find that to be like a difficult thing, because it's like, you know, I like to just share, you know, my photos and my music and my videos. I don't feel like I share like a whole lot of like my personal life, or like go on live all the time, or go on Insta story all the time. But I want to do more of it. I'm going to do more of it. But sometimes it's hard to just find that balance between like real life and how you're perceived in, you know, what people expect of you on the internet at the same time. You know? So I think for each artist, you just kind of have to feel that out for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we have about 3 more minutes left before Instagram kicks our asses up out of here. So I wanted to give you a moment to talk about all the stuff that you're working on. I know you released a new single a couple of weeks back, so I want you to talk about that. And some folks are still loving Cranberry Liquor in there. So tell the folks what you're working on.
So I do have music out. I have Cranberry Liquor. I have Hide Your Heart. That has about three or four songs on it, and all the songs were actually written by Pink Sweats. I think a lot of people probably
Oh
know.
yes, very nice.
Yes, because you know Pink Sweats, he's from Philly, and before
Yes.
he was who he is, we used to do songs together, and so he
No
wrote that.
way.
Yeah, he wrote that whole project.
Oh.
So check it out when you get a chance. And I just released Butterflies in February, and I do have more new music. I was in London a few months ago and worked with some songwriters. One of the songwriters wrote on John's Christmas album. So while I was on tour with John, I was able to link up with that songwriter and work on some songs together. So that's a song that I'm really proud of. It's called Perfect Life. I have another song called Sweet Dreams. I can preview some songs for you if you like.
Text me, girl. You know I'm ready. Or if you want to, play a little clip. We got about 2 minutes, so we can do that. We can do that the next time.
Okay. But yeah, I have some new songs. I haven't really decided whether I want to put them out as singles or put them together as an EP and just make it a body of music that everyone can just listen to throughout. But yeah, there's new music and it is coming soon.
Yes. Well, we're ready. We are very ready. And so
yeah, everyone can always go to like NatalieImani.com and you can find all things Natalie Imani. You can find my music on there to download, or you can go to Spotify, Apple, iTunes, whatever your preference, and if you'd like to support. I'm working on some new merch, so I'm gonna have some merch coming out. Yeah, and I think earlier in this interview we talked about risk. So one of the songs and the merch behind it is called Risk It All. So that's definitely going to be one of my things that I really push for people to go out there and take risks on love, take risks on your job, your passion. This is a great time to hone your craft and really go after your passion. So take that risk.
Well, we love to see it. Go out and risk it all, y'all. Not in the way that y'all thinking either. Nasty behind. But y'all go, work on that project that you've been working on. Listen, you see me with my iPhone on my face doing these interviews. That means everybody can do a little something. So go. We really appreciate that message. And we really appreciate you coming on the chat.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. You're
course.
Always so supportive, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. If we was in person, we'd be at a jam session together, but here we are.
We'll be outside soon.
Child, soon as relative, because listen.
We just have to support from afar. Everybody just stay healthy.
Yeah, stay healthy. We'll get through this eventually. Keep our behinds in the house until this is over.
And keep listening to the music.
Yes, keep listening to the music. So on that note, I want to thank everybody for coming. We'll be back on Friday.
Thank you, Anderson Street.
Of course, you will. Mwah.